So yesterday at the end we were discussing about this particular example. So this is a do search method related to any e-commerce application, or we can say any, like just like for an example Amazon or Flipkart. So we have to search the products. We have to get the product links by the name of company. So this is an parameter that we have set. Like we just need to enter the company name, and accordingly we have built our logic inside using switch case statement. If the company name would be Apple, then these are the listed products that we have stored inside a generic list type. Okay, and some other cases, like for this is the data available for Samsung products, HP products, and at the end we were returning the product list. Now from our man method we have created the object of our customer class. Okay, now if I need to access do search method, then this is the object reference dot. As soon as I'll write dot, and the company name I need to provide. So this is called argument, and this is parameter. So I just need to give argument based upon my requirement. For an example, user, or I just want to search the product for, let us see, Apple company. Then by using for each loop, I should print all the product that are related to Apple, that should be got printed. Okay, so I got the correct output over here. Here we have like read the out product list for Samsung, and at the end we provided such a name that doesn't exist inside our logic. So for that we have a default case. In default case we have printed this line like product category not found. So we have seen this practical example in yesterday's session, and tomorrow let us see some more practical example that at the time of Selenium we may use that, and then we'll talk about that next session. So let us say I have, this is my do search method. For an example, let's create one more method. So my question is that write a function. WAF means write a function. WAP means write a program. Write a function to launch browser. To launch browser. So we'll use just dummy installation, not the real time browser we are going to launch, but like how the code will be written. Okay. So now let us create one method. Let us say public. So this would be of void type, because we will not get any kind of output or return type from this. We just need to launch a browser. Okay. So void is the return type, and my method in name is, let us say, launch browser. Okay. What would be my parameter over here? So yeah, what would be my parameter? So parameter is like, let us say we have to just provide the browser name. Browser name. Okay. Now, so first let's print a line so that we can like get an idea what this particular method is related to. The browser name is, okay, and let's print the browser name first as soon as we'll execute this method. Okay, now let's define some condition, just like we have defined switch case statements inside the previous example. Let's take an if example. If, so my browser name, so we need to provide like true and false inside any if condition. So let us say just like my browser name, so this is a string. To compare the string we use dot equals method. Okay, dot equals to, for an example, let us say someone is providing argument as in Chrome. Okay, we'll write in Selenium code, if our browser name is equal to Chrome, what we need to do, just launch the Chrome browser. Launch Chrome browser. So the entire code be written over here like Chrome driver is equal to no, new Chrome driver. Okay, entire code to launch the browser. But for now, just to understand this, because we are not dealing with the Selenium right now, so I'm just printing this statement. Instead of this print statement, we'll write the actual code to launch the browser. Okay, now because this is the example of cross browser testing. Okay, we may have like our automation script should be in such, we need to design in such a way that it can work on the cross browser as well. Whatever the input we will provide from here, like if I provide the Chrome, then Chrome browser should get launched. If I am providing argument as in Firefox, then Firefox browser, because our customer requirement may be of cross browser, you need to check same scenario on multiple browsers. So every time you need not to like every time you are coming inside our code and writing some logic, to launch the different kind of browsers. No, at this first initially when designing the framework, we will write our code in such a way that in any browser, like what are the most preferred browser, we can run our application accordingly. Okay, so our application should be written in such a way. Let us say cross browser scenario. Cross browser logic. Okay, got it. For an example, if user or we provided some other name rather than, let us say my browser name dot equals, we have, let us say Firefox. There are, Selenium supports multiple browsers, around six browsers that we will talk at the time of Selenium sessions. Okay, let's print the statement. Launch Firefox browser, and let us create one more condition over here. If my browser name equals to, let us say Safari, okay, then launch Safari browser. Okay, now that is fine. So now let us see, like I'm provided such a argument from here that the browser, like we don't have logic for that, or Selenium doesn't support that particular browser. In that case, our code will give any message or will throw an exception in this way, like let us say please pass the right browser. uh, Please pass the right browser name. Following browser doesn't exist. Just an example, whatever, or you can just have this much only. Okay, let us say browser name over here that we have provided. Yeah, so let us again look at this particular method that we have just designed. So what is the return type of this? Return type is void. Void means we are not returning anything from this method. Okay, what is the input parameter? What is the input parameter for this browser? So this is called the input parameter, as I already have told you. So it's browser name, or we can say a string value. Browser name is an input parameter and it's of a string type. Got it? So yeah, so these are the things that you just need to understand. Then it's easy to use it. Like inside we already have our man method public static void man, and this method is also under the customer class. In customer class we have two methods. Basically we have three methods including man method, but like if we exclude the man method, then we have two more methods like do search and launch browser. Okay, we already have used the do search. Now how to use the launch browser? Just create an object of the class that we already have created, use the reference variable or object reference, and put dot, what is the name of my method that I just created? Launch browser. Okay, now what just you need to do, just call this method and provide a browser name. Just say I am providing Chrome. Okay, and so only string type of value I can enter. This is called the argument. I have provided Chrome as an argument. Okay, I cannot provide int value over here because the parameter that accept this particular method launch browser will be of string type only. And similarly, I can like launch some other browser as well. Let us say I have launched Safari. Okay, and maybe a user can try some other browser as well that may not exist inside our logic. Let's say he want to launch the Opera. Okay, but like Opera is not available, so we should get that please this particular message that we have written inside the else logic. Please pass the right browser name. Okay, cool. Let's separate it out. Now, do I need to store just like we are storing customer dot do search? Do I need to store these kind of values inside any variable or any data type? No, because our launch method doesn't returns anything. This is just taking an argument and this will do the operation to launch the browser and do some other operation, but there is no return type. This is of void type. So void type means we need not to store this inside any particular data type. Okay, yeah, let's execute it. So you see, first we launched the browser name is Chrome that we have, and this is launching the Chrome browser using the first the call that we have made. Using the second call, the browser name this time is Safari and launching the Safari browser. And now for the Opera, this is saying the browser name is Opera. Please pause the right browser name. Got it? So this is how this will like call. We have called a single method multiple times, but with different arguments. In the first over argument, like first call over argument was Chrome. In the second call, my argument was Safari, and my third call, the argument was Opera. So you see, this is the beauty of programming language. Like we can write a logic at single time, and we can use that particular logic with different parameters. Okay, so I just define logic once, and then I can use that particular thing with different parameters. So in real time, also like we used to do such kind of operations. Okay, that is fine. So I hope now you should be comfortable in this launch browser. Let us say, for an example, I have one more parameter defined over here. For an example, let us say double browser version. I have defined work. Can I do that? Yes, I can do that. I can define multiple parameters over here. Okay. Now I have already have defined multiple parameters over here, but like can I use uh, but I haven't uses this particular browser version inside my code. And while calling these launch browsers, this is also asking because now this is taking two arguments. That's why it's showing error. We have provided only one argument, but now this is saying that please provide that browser. We have provided browser name. This is saying also provide the browser version. For an example, let us say we have provided the browser version is, let us say for an example 75.01. Okay, this is a double value we have provided, but like we are not using this inside our logic. We are just providing the value. That is okay. There is no error. But like if I am not using this value, then it is good to use this particular parameter name. No, it's not a good practice. So always have the parameter that are being used inside my logic. For an example, I can define multiple uh, arguments over here. But like if they are not, we are not using them inside our logic, then what is the value in what is the use of them? There is no use of them, so they are just blocking our memory. So we should not use these kind of unnecessary parameters that are not being used. Okay, so this now this will show an error. This will say like you can just define only one parameter, that is string browser name, so I cannot use that. Let's remove it. Okay, so the same kind of code we'll write at the time of Selenium as well. Okay, so this was the example of an cross-browser testing. So we can define like multiple parameters over here. Okay, just like in this particular example, we have defined two parameters. But for an example, we have some examples in that we may require um, like many parameters. For an example, in where is my customer class? Yeah, this is my customer class and launch browser method. Yeah, it's my launch browser method. Here I just providing a single argument. Let me say I have a scenario. Write a function. Write a function to register a user. This is my scenario. For an example, I have like more than 5 or 10 arguments or parameters for this. So how to handle this? Like I have first name, user first name, last name, maybe user email, okay, and maybe user phone number. We can have password, some user password, or what is the age of user. We can have date of birth of user, like city, okay, and anything, like there can be any number of things that we can do over here. Okay, we can have user address, okay, Aadhaar number. Based on these data, we can register a user, etc. So there might be like so many parameters values that we can use. So like how is it a good practice to use so many parameters? Like inside my method body, here in string I'll write username, first name, phone number, password, age, date of birth, city, address, Aadhaar number, everything inside this. So is it is good practice? Maybe you have 20 or 30 parameters. Then at the time of value, at the time of assigning the value over here, like calling this method, you may get confused like how many values I need to provide. So and this would be very lengthy. So it's not a good practice to write all these argument, all the values inside a single like argument. So for that, like in future, I'll tell you the concept of how to improve this. Like so, this is a standard in C# programming or any programming language, that standard that we should try to avoid more than 5 parameters. Okay, it's okay 5 6 parameters, but like practically we should avoid more than 5 parameters. Okay, then in the future we'll explain the concept of, we'll pass this by the class object. Okay, we'll pass the multiple parameters by using class object. I'll explain you this later at the time of encapsulation, where we use like using the getters and setters. We can provide this kind of argument. But for now, just understand that just try to provide like 5 6 argument in this way. And if the number of argument is more, then we need to handle these by using the class object. Okay. Now, I think this is good. You have understood the basic of classes, class object, browser, different type of browser. Okay, is there any caution so far? Rasi and Aswini, you have any questions so far?
No.
Okay, thanks for confirmation. So now let's understand a few more logics. Let us see, we have as you as I told you that we can have only one man method. Okay, always try to remember that the entry point would be will compiler will always look for the man method, and as soon as we'll find the man method, he'll start the execution from this man method. Okay, now I'm going to create a new class. So there are multiple ways to handle this. For now I'm just changing its name. Let me, so that I can create a new man method. So this is also my local, this has been become my local method. Now if I'm going to run this, then this will not run from here, because this will say there is an build error. Okay, so this will say like program doesn't contain a static man method suitable for any entry point. So this program is not finding any entry point. Okay, so we can handle it dynamically as well. I'll explain you the upcoming session. For now, just say, uh, for an example, we have man method. Let me create one more class. Let's create one more class. Let us say, let's take an example of some e-commerce application. Okay. So here also, okay, we have defined e-com class. So in this class also we will get, we would need the man method public static void man. Here also we would be needed man method. So now there has been two, as we already have discussed so many times. Now there are two entry points for this program. Okay, one is over here and one is inside the customer class that we were just looking into. One man method is here, public static void man, and one man method is here. So compiler will be confused like from where I need to enter in the program. There are two entry gates for the compiler. If I'll run this application, then this will throw an error and will say like you have multiple like entry point. Program have more than one entry point. Can you read this? Like program has more than one entry point defined. Compile with man to specify the type of content in the entry point. So we need to define like from which man method you want to enter inside the program. Okay, from this particular method you want to make your entry or from here. So for now what we were doing, like this is also showing an error over here, is like is have more than one entry point. So what we were doing was just we were changing the definition of this. We were removing the static keyword and changing the method name. But now this what is the correct solution for this is that you can give the preference. You can make like, yeah, you can say to in the Visual Studio, you can make a setting like this. You will say, hey, this is my man method compiler, this is my man method, and from here you need to enter inside the program. Okay, so we can guide the compiler over here. We can guide compiler, please go here and uh, take this as an entry point. So how to do that? So just right click on your project. Okay, just I'm right clicking on my project and go to the properties. Okay, and inside the properties, this is an application tab, right? This is my application tab. So inside application tab there is a startup object. Okay, startup object. So from here we can define the entry point. Let us say we have two man methods, so two options will be displayed over here. Automation January, this is my project name dot c sharp concept dot customer, this is my customer class, and this is my e-commerce class. So like for which class man method I need to tag as an entry point, I need to select that particular class name. Got it? If I will select customer over here, then there would be no error and the program execution will start from the man method of customer class. And if I'll take e-commerce as an startup object, then the man method of e-commerce class would be considered as an entry point. You got it? Okay. So what you just need to do to make it like to consider this as a man method, you just need to go to uh, like right click on project, go to project, say right click over here, and then what you just need to do, just open properties, just select properties. Okay, then go to the application tab. Okay, and then set what you need to start a project, start startup object, I guess, not project. Let me check that. Where is that? Yeah, I need to go over here, properties, application, and its startup object. Yeah, so you need to set or class name over here based on that your man method. So now if I'll run this, then there would be no such error. Got it? Although we haven't defined anything inside the main method, but we will not get any kind of error this time, right? There is no build error or any kind of error, and this is successfully executed. Although we don't get any output because this is an empty main method. So you got it, like how you need to define in case you have multiple man methods, then how you need to give the permissions. All the execution, everything would be same. What you have just defining, we are just not like updating our statement again and again for this, and we are setting the preference from startup object. Okay. Now let's understand uh, the concept of there is a new concept. Let me explain you that. So for an example, for now, this is my class, e-commerce class. Okay, let it me write it somewhere else so you will not get confused. You may write it over here. Okay, you can in future you may take reference. So this is my like class internal access modify class ecom. Okay, inside that I have a man method. Okay, so for e-commerce application, so there can be multiple kind of logics. Let us say e-commerce. Let's talk about the login functionality. So in how many ways we can log inside an application? Let us say public. I'm creating a method. Public void. Let us say login. Okay, this is my default method. Means there is no parameter and no output. This is a simple method. Let us say print default login. There may be some kind of application where login is not required. So this is my default application. Now, can I write it like this? Can I define one more method with the same name? Can I define two login methods? This is also a login method. This is also a login method. So this is giving an error. I cannot do that. This is saying type ecom already define a member called login with the same parameter type. So this is the error is saying like this ecom class already have a login method, so you cannot define, because tomorrow for an example if you want to call this method, if this would be allowed, then if you going to call this, we need to create the object. Let us say e1 is equal to ecom new ecom. So we have created an object. So at that time the compiler will be confused, like let's say you are writing e1 dot login. Okay, so the compiler would be confused like which login method you want to call, either this one or this one. So that's why it's saying this is not allowed. Okay, like you cannot define two login method inside over here. Okay, so we can say duplicate methods are not allowed in C sharp. Duplicate means the same name methods and the parameter is also same, like there is no parameter and zero parameter. Okay, right? Can I do it like this? Can I let me define one more method? Let us say public login. For login, this time you would be needed string username, comma, string password. Is this allowed? Yes, of course this is allowed. So what is the difference between these two methods? The name is same, the return type is same. The only difference is that this have no parameters and this particular method have some parameters. But this is allowed. Okay, this is called the method overloading. You have a same type of method with the same name but with the different argument. Okay, so this is allowed. Let me print some meaningful statement over here. Let us say login with let us say username that we have took, and and password, let us say write it, and pwd. Yeah, you just printing this statement. You can do that. Can I define some more method with the same name? Let us say public login string username string password, and let us say at the time of login you would also be needed, let us say int, something like int otp. So is this allowed? Yes, this is allowed because the name is same but the number of arguments are different. Here the numbers of argument are 2 and here we are defining the three number of argument. Okay, so let's print this also, OTP as well. Okay, now so you already have defined this. So method name is same, but like these are the different properties that we have defined. So these things are allowed in C#. We can define a method in this kind of format. So this is known as method overloading. May have heard this many times. What is method overloading? This is a very famous interview question as well. Method overloading. Okay. So now what is the kind of property we can say? Like within the same class, you have say number of methods having the same name but the different properties. So what kind of the properties can be like within the same class you have? Uh, Within the same class, this is kind of the definition. You have multi multiple methods of same name but with different signature. Different signature. Okay. So like what would be the method overloading? Like my uh, in method overloading, let us say we can define a method could be with the same name. Got it? The method name would be same, just like login, login, login. But with the different parameters, you can say. Got it? Here my parameter was nothing, zero parameter. Here is my two parameters, string, string, and string, string, integer. Okay, with different parameters. And different types of parameter we can also use. Okay, let's understand. Can I use it like I have string password? I have two parameters over here. Let me define one more method. Let us say public void login. I'm defining one more login method over here. Let us say I'm taking string as an username. Can I write it like this and int password? Is it allowed? Yes, it's allowed. You don't look like this have two arguments and this is also taking two arguments, but you can check that types of arguments, type of parameter is different. Here we are taking just two string and here we are taking string and integer. Okay, so this is also allowed. So we can say with different parameters. And the third point that we can took over here is just like different types of parameters. Okay, we can take the different types of parameters. Okay, and like one more thing we can understand over here is that just like I have defined string username or int password. For an example, can I write it like, would it be allowed? I am writing, just copy, cut it from here. I'm writing in like at first place and the second place is my username. So yeah, you can see this is also allowed. We are taking string int and here we are taking integer string, means the sequence is also like if the sequence of the parameters should be different, then this would be considered as an valid method. Although there is no use of this because like we have same type of parameters, we'll use integer username and password, same kind of things here. Although there is no use of this, but we can define like this as well. Like the third type of method overloading we can define is like the fourth is sequence of the parameters would be different. Sequence of the parameters would be different. Okay, so this is also allowed. So always remember guys, like return type doesn't matter in method overloading. You may have any kind of return type like string, integer, but the matter is that the parameters only. Here we can have like we can take different parameters. One is had two parameter, one is having three parameters. Okay, and method parameter could be anything, name could be anything, like you taking username and something else. Just depend upon the type of the parameter. Okay, not the name. You can take any name, whatever you want. For an example, if you want to define one more method, let us say login, this is have like int password string username. You want to take like different name like name and something like a name and just enter your OTP. So is this allowed? No, this will not allowed, because this is also integer and string, and this is also integer and string. So doesn't matter like what is the name that we are taking, we are just checking this type of the parameter. Okay, so this type integer string, so this would be same, so this is not allowed. Okay, so these are the things that we need to consider at the time of creating like explaining the main method to the interviewer, as well as like in the real time implementation. You need to consider these 4 points at the time of method overloading. You got it? Okay, now like we have defined, or and it's very easy to use them. Okay, like for an example, let me, I have already created the object of class. So if I'll put, if I need to call these methods, if I'll put even dot login, okay, then you can see that there are 4 overloaded methods. Any of these methods you can call, just like if you'll call like this. Okay, you haven't give provided any method name yet, sorry, any argument yet, then which one method will be called? You can see that this particular method would be called because this is having no argument, this is don't have any parameters, so default login would be considered. For an example, let's this, write it in a separator. This is my separator. Let us say if you are calling, if some user, this might be different kind of functionality. If you want to, let us say, login with he is providing the value just like Ankit and comma, let us say I have the values like mm, username and password just like 12PASS123. Okay, this is my password. So which login method would be called? This login username and no, because the first input is integer over here. So let's look into the method where the both of the parameters are of string type, so string username and string password. So my this method, you can see one reference is generated over here. That means we have called this have zero reference, means we are not using this method yet. So if I'll click on this reference and will select this, then I'll directly navigate to the place where I'm using this method. Let us say if I want to check where I'm using this method, so I'll click on this and select this. I'll just navigate it over here. Here I'm using that method. And if you want to directly go to this method, just select this and press F12, as I told you yesterday. You will come directly inside this main method. And this has one reference and one reference. If you'll call this twice, then this will be having two reference. Let me call it twice. I can use a method as many times as I want. Let me tell you, like I have called it once again. I have like login twice times. So this should have, this method should have two references. Now you can see this has two reference. Once I am calling it at 48 line, and this is on 49 line. Let me check my 48 and 49 line. Yeah, this is my 48 and this is 49. So yeah, this is how this will generate the references. Okay. Okay. So this is how we need to call it. Okay. So like what is the advantage of this? So the biggest advantage of this gives us the flexibility to this basically gives us the multiple options. Okay, because like maybe in the e-commerce application you have seen that there are different ways to log in. We may log in with the as I told you that with username, some OTP. So like whatever the user form UI will provide the input, similarly the method will get executed and will get the output. For an example, if I just want to execute it, so first my default login should take place, and then the string like with the login with username and password. You see, first my default login would be there, and then my login with username and password. Okay, and similarly you can call the other methods as well. Okay, so here you can see you have different, you are calling method with the same name but with the different arguments. So this is like the so in this way the maintenance is easy, and this is known as the method overloading. Okay, and like we have divided methods inside the different part. So like this is how we can use that. This is the practical example of method overloading. So there are many scenarios in e-commerce application where we are using this method overloading. So can anyone of you tell me some more example of in case of e-commerce where we are like user might be using uh, this method overloading as per your understanding? Just Aswini, like if any example is coming in your mind in e-commerce application where we like maybe developer have defined that method overloading.
Sorry, I don't. Nothing is coming into my mind just now.
Yeah, you just guess like where it could be. There are multiple examples like whenever we are going to search anything, so we can search by the product name or product price. We can search by seller name. Okay, so there are multiple like method overloading is implemented or at the time of payment as well. Like if you have to make the payment, then there are multiple options. You can make the payment with credit card, you can make the payment with UPI options. Okay, and you may like select the default payment option, that is cash on delivery kind of thing. So every time the developer, most of the time they have developed this logic inside. For an example, let me tell you one more example related to the practical example is like search. Okay, so let's create one more method, public void, let us say search, SEARCH. Okay, now so I have created one more method, search. Now I can directly search, or I can have some method just like search with string, the name of the product you want to search. Okay, product name you can say. Okay, and you may have one more like you can define as many as methods you want, different ways to search and product, but like these signature of these parameters should be different. Let us say integer price you are entering this time, or let us say you have string seller name. Okay, whatever in like parameter you want to pass, you can do that. So this is also a practical example of search. So here like what is my feature name? So acceptance criteria, so like these requirements, the customer will provide these requirement to the company. Hey, I want a feature in my application, so that should work on different kind of things, like I can search with this and all. So what is the feature name over here? The feature name is search, SEARCH. Okay, this is my feature name. Okay, and let us say what are the filters that we are using. So this will be the acceptance criteria. I think manual tester know the acceptance criteria. So these are the acceptance criteria that has been given by customer. So these are my acceptance criteria. Let us say the filters are mm, the first filter should be like search by name, and the second filter should be, let us say, search by name and place. Okay, or maybe price that we have just took. And let's just say third filter criteria is like let's search by seller name, name, and price. Based on price, we need to the user can search the product. So these are my acceptance criteria, and based on these acceptance criteria, we need to developers need to logic in such a way that they can implement and achieve all the things that that has been written inside the acceptance criteria. Okay, so this and many examples are there. Let us say like we have payment example here that we look the search example. Let us say payment example that we are using the method overloading. Let us say we have a method public void, uh, let us say public void do payment. Okay, so we can do payment in different way. Let us say we are using the credit card number, so that is always int, or you can take long uh, credit card number, and like you need to provide the credit card CVV number. Okay, you provide CVV number and int OTP. You can do and the same like you can also make the payment at the time of using some e-commerce application. You also can make the payment like your UPI ID, let us say string UPI ID, and like OTP. You can provide like you can payment through OTP as well. And like there can be multiple methods, I mean to say that. So similarly, you need to write your logic in this way. Okay, and let us say this is payment. Okay, so this is the example of payment. And in like in for an example, booking apps as well, just like you need to book an Uber, okay, on Ola or whatever you want. So let us say bookings. So there also they have implemented this method overloading. Okay, they have implemented multiple methods. Methods means in the we can do a same activity but in a different way. Okay, method name would be same, but I'll do this activity in different way. Just like here I'll do the payment, here also I'll do the payment, but here I'll do the payment with credit card and CVV number, and this time I'm going to do the payment by using UPI ID and OTP. Okay, and for an example, let us say one create one method public void. Let us say user wants to do some booking. So he's just entering inside the Uber app, he's just entering string the starting point from where he will travel and just entering the end point where he just need to go. Okay. So yeah, this is how this is my method. Okay, you can write it like this or whatever you want. Yeah. Now user may enter some other information as well. So there are some we can make it further, like we can make it mandatory or non-mandatory, required or not required based upon the requirements. So if there is no like there are some applications in apps as well, if you don't want to select this kind of option, then yes, we can go ahead. But some information might be mandatory, just like the starting point in booking and end point is mandatory, otherwise you cannot book. That will not understand like from where you need to pick and where you need to drop. So the pickup location and drop location should be entered. But like some more other option might be available at the time of in like we can say booking application, just like you have a string starting point, you have string end point, and you may also have like what kind of car type you want to travel. So it's an optional point whether you want to select it or not. If you will not select this, then this method will be called. And at the time of booking, if you selected this card type, then this particular option get selected. Okay, and based on that, you will get that output and response and booking. Okay, and for an example, in many applications you have this, and in booking as well. Let us say, let us understand one more example practical. you have you have all these method. Okay, you have all these, and you have one more option. Just say string. You have coupon code, COUPONCODE. So sometime like there are some referrals going on at that time. You may have like you got some code through via email or something like that. So you may have one option inside your application UI where you can enter the coupon code and book your cab. You will get some extra discount. So this is the very practical examples of method overloading. So now you should be like confident enough in that like if you someone will going to ask you what is the method overloading, give me some practical examples, so you can do that. So I hope this is crystal clear to you. Is there any question, Ashwini, or you got the concept like what is actually the method overloading is?
Yes, I have got it.
Okay, cool, thank you. So now I do have one question to you. Please be unmute. So my question is that I asked you to be unmused. Like we are using a man method over here. Okay. So can we overload the man method? Can we overload the man method? So the answer is like overloading the man method means providing the different argument in from the man method, and man method would always be the entry point. So can we do that? Yes, that is possible in C sharp. Okay. So yes, we can overload the man method, but how to do that? Let us see through an practical example. Okay, let me create one more class inside the C sharp concept. Let's create one more class and let's say man method overloading. Okay, now inside the man method overloading, I need to define a obviously if I want to work on this, then I need to define a man method inside this. But now again, will this time if I run this program, will the compiler will be confused or not? The compiler will not be confused, but this class will not get executed, this man method, because in the object and the setting that we just talk about, uh, at that setup we have just defined the ecom class. We have just selected the ecom class over there, so this will get executed whether I'm running executing it from this class or any other class. Always this particular man method will get executed. But now if we want to work inside this class and I need to preference for this class, I need to change that. So just go properties, applications, and startup object. Now there should be one more option over here, so that is not being displayed yet. So public static void man, that should be there. Okay. Mm, let me close it and check it once again, because we have public static void man method we over here inside that class. Yeah. So we have one more class called man method overloading. Inside we have public static void man. So if I want to give preference to this, then this should be displayed inside my properties. Yeah, you can see now that was not being saved. That's why it was not there. So I just need to select man method overloading. Now what will happen? The man method that we have defined inside man method overloading class will get preference. So the execution, the starting point of the program would be this. This is the entry point of the program now. Okay, and the access has been removed from this. This will not get executed now. Okay. So we were talking about the man method. Let us say, so first try to understand one more concept that I'll explain you, but let us see. I'm just printing man method one. Okay. Now, if you just want to, let us say, overload this. Overloading means provide some different argument. Can I define two man methods? I cannot do that because the entry point would always be one. But as we are talking about overloading, so if I am providing an integer kind of values over here, so this is allowed in C sharp. Yes, this is allowed. So let me say this is method 2 and the value of parameter is a. Okay, and let me create one more man method with different parameter. This time we are taking integer 1 and integer 2 as b. Okay, let us print this as well, separated by. Okay, plus b. Yep. Now you have different, you can say, three man methods. First one is man method 1, man method 2, and this is man method 3. If I execute this program, what would be the my output? Will all three will get printed, or will I get any kind of error, or only first will get executed? So let us execute it and analyze the output. Okay. Okay. So you see the output is only man method 1. The other methods, man method 2 and man method 3 doesn't get executed. So how it's working? So basically, when as soon as you run a program, as I told you that program, the compiler will always look for this man method. So that will come inside this. So compiler is still considering this as a man method. So the compiler is not considering these, although these are man methods only with different arguments. But compiler will identify this, understand this, and execute this only. If you need to execute these, then you just need to call these kind of man methods inside this. You can directly call these man methods just like you will call it like man a inside the man method. Okay, and just provide any string values. Then this particular method will get called. Okay, I'll tell you like how this we are taking just an integer value. So let's just take one. So now this method will get called. This is have one reference. You can see that. Otherwise, still like the compiler is saying, yeah, I just have one man method, and this the compiler is considering this particular man method as an entry point only. Okay, and you just got the man method one as an output. Now let us say if I remove this, let me comment it out. Okay. Now if I'm going to execute my program, so what kind will I get, like this output or this? What kind of output I'll get? Let me execute it and see there is a build error. Okay, and what is saying the build error is man method is doesn't have a suitable static man method. Okay, so so this is looking for the suitable static man method where like there should not be any kind of argument. So always remember this would always be the entry point of our application. But yes, we can do like method overloading as well for the man method. But like in every case, uh, we will not have we will get, if I'll execute it, the execution will start from here only. And in practical, like there is this is just an interview question. Like in practically, we don't have as much use of this. Okay, this is showing an error. What is the error? Suitable static. We already have defined that. Yeah. Now, so as I told you that we don't have much practical use of this is just for that understanding purpose. Like it may be an interview question. It's not like famous interview question, but like yeah, you should be aware of that. Yes, we can overload the man method, but the entry point would be from like this only. Okay. Now, so in C sharp we can define man method in two ways. First one is like this is a simple way that most of the time we will use, and we can also define man method like this also. This is just for your general knowledge and understanding purpose. We can also define just like if you have studied Java, then similarly we can define like this only, string argument or anything. So yeah, both of like now this have two entry point. If I'll execute this, then there should be an error, and this will say we cannot have like two entry points kind of error we should get. Okay, program has more than one entry point defined. Got it? So both are same. So the use of this, like we are taking some argument. What is the type of argument? This is an array of string type of argument. So sometime we need to run the application on command prompt. Okay, that time we need to define our main method like this only. Okay, so always remember this. Both of them are like correct. If I'll remove this and start execution, start executing this, then yes, this should get printed. So main method can be written in this line also. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, main method one got printed. So this can accept like this particular main method that we have defined over here. We can say this can accept n number of array type parameters during the runtime. This is called command line argument. Okay, sometimes while running the application we need some input from the command line. That time we will use this. Okay, and but generally the general without command line that we are just using, just remove this, and this particular main method would be without command line. Okay, so you understood this. Okay, now let's talk about the next concept. So I hope you have got this. Let me create one more class. Let us say this is very important topic that is called object reference concept. Object reference concept. Here also we would be needed and main method public public static. So this static keyword tomorrow in the next session we'll talk about in details. So this is also a kind of important thing. Public static void main. We have a main method. So now we just need to give the preference to our object reference class. So I already have explained you. I not need to update the previous class main method. Just go inside properties and select this object for object reference concept. Okay, got it. So now a public static void main. I have defined a main method over here. Now let me create some class variables. Let us say int string name, something like that. You can create it whatever you want, or integer age. You have done it like this, and also you created one more method, public void. Let us say uh, get hobby, whatever. Let's say get method itself. Print this like you are getting something information. Okay. So the concept over here is that this is known as the class variable. These are the class variable. I already have explained you. Are the class variable, and this is the class have multiple methods and multiple variables. Okay. So how many properties this class have? This class have basically three properties: two variables, two class variable, and one method. So like this will not the main method will not consider inside the class property because of this static keyword we'll discuss in next session. But just for now, just you need to remember is that this particular class has three properties: name, age, and this get method. So all these like properties are known as that class data members. These all are class data members. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So how many class data members this have? This have total 3 class data members, and among the three, 2 are class variables and one is method. Okay. Now if I need to call it, okay, I need to call or need to assign this some value to this, or I need to use this method, then what I need to do? I need to create an object of this class. Okay, let us say object reference concept obj is equal to new object uh, reference concept. So which one is my object? The RHS is my object. This is the object reference, and this is my type of the object or the class name that we have defined over here. So as soon as I'll write like this, what will happen inside the memory? In so many sessions, I already have explained. One object will get created, okay, inside the memory, okay, and inside this object, this we have created that object reference concept. So this object reference concept object would be get created, and all the three data members, or we can say properties, will be copied over here, just like we have 2 properties and 1 method. So yeah, this is how, this is our method. Okay, this is my basically name, age, and one is get. So inside the memory, all these values copied to this particular object, all the value come over here, and now we can access these values by using this obj reference variable. Let me write it over here, obj reference variable. Okay, so means this will be assigned to this, the value would be assigned to the object, and by using this object we can call the values. Obj.name, obj.age, obj.get will get that values. Got it? That we already have understood. Now what if I do like it, if I assign obj is equal to null, if I have assigned like this, so is there any kind of error? No, but there is a warning called, yeah. Now if I need to assign the values, just like obj dot name is equal to, let us say there is a name called Tom. Okay, and I need to give obj dot is, let us say Tom is of 25 years, and I need to print my main method, or let us say, or just I need to print the value. Let us print console dot write line obj dot to print the name. I'm just calling first here, I'm assigning the value to that name, this is Tom, and here I'm going to print these values. So if I'll execute this, what I will get, what the output should I get? Will I get Tom or null, or what the output will I get? Let's execute it and see what kind of output will I get. So here I'll get, okay, mm, yeah. So the program has throwing some error. This is throwing an exception. Okay, this is throwing some exception. It's null reference exception. Or there is an error, or we can say exception that we are getting, null reference exception. Okay, let me stop it. Stop the execution from this red line. Close the window. Okay. So at that line number 25, we got null reference exception. We also call it like NRE, null reference exception. So why we are getting the null reference exception? We are trying to assign the value to this, but even though like I am getting the null reference exception, why? So what is happening, as I just explained you, this object will get created by using new object reference, and all the 3 properties of the class will be assigned over here to data variables and one is class variables 2 and one is class method. Okay, and now as I told you that this would be assigned to the object. This is object reference obj, so these value would be assigned. But now as soon as like we have assigned the null value to this object is equal to we have made this null. So now what happened, the connection of this object has been removed from here. There would be no as such connection with this object. Okay, now this obj is just referring to the null only, not the class object. Okay, so this would be kind of, we can say, grounded. Okay, now the latest value of this obj is like nothing, or we can say just null. This is got grounded, and the connection from the class object has been removed. That's why we are getting like the null reference exception. So always remember, never make any object as null. Okay, so yeah, so never make an object as null. Now even though itself you will get a warning over here, converting null literally possible null value to a nullable value, and here also there is a warning given. Although there is no compile time error over here, compile time, yes, this is allowed to assign this value, but at the runtime you will get null reference exception. Means you now the latest value of object is null, and you are trying to assign a value to the null, then you cannot do that. That's why. So in Selenium we will see lots of example of null reference exception. We will create like web driver is equal to new Chrome driver, and if we haven't defined any value to that Chrome driver, then we'll get null reference exception over there as well. So always remember this. So if we have assigned null to this, then we'll get null reference exception, or null reference exception. Yeah. Now, okay, so the compiler is just giving the warning over here. At the compile time, the compiler will not understand, but at the runtime, we will got the exception. Now, just like so, can I call these properties class members, class data members by using a different object? Yes, I can do that. I can create one more object. Let us say to create an object, use new keyword, and yeah, so you have created a new object. Although you haven't assigned to any new like object reference yet, but yeah, by using, if you simply write this line, that means your object has been created. So as I told you, at the time of class and objects, you can create a multiple object of the same class. Class is just a blueprint. By using that blueprint of the home, blueprint of the laptop, you can create multiple real-time objects. Similarly, we created one object over here using that class name, and we are creating a new object over here. Okay, so is it possible like I'm not giving any object reference, I'm not storing this inside any object reference, and I need to call all that like variables and methods by using this object only? Can I do that? Yes, I can do that. What I just need to do, I if I'll simply if I'll write dot at the end of this, and if I'll say name, I can access this. Yes, let us say name is Peter. Okay, so I access it easily. I can access the names by directly. I'm not using that reference object reference over here. I'm just creating the object of the class and putting the dot at the end of that, and yeah, all the members of the class I can access. So let me, for an example, I need to access, let us say, the age. Okay, and age is, let us say, 40. This is an integer kind of value. Okay, and let us say I want to access the get method also. Can I do that? Yes. All the data members I can directly call by using the object. So like how many objects got created? So internally how it's working. So as soon as we created this object, so all the three properties data members, just like two variables and one object, directly assigned to this object. Okay, this time we are not using any data object, or we can say reference object. That's why all the properties are directly assigned to this object, and by using this we can call them. So my question to you is that how many objects got created? Do we have here, like in these three lines, like do we create only one method or like three methods got created? So the answer is we got three objects, and this is literally a bad code, because to access these values, that's why this is important to store this object inside an object reference, and all the all the members of the class by using the object reference, not directly, because otherwise unnecessary three objects got created. They will take they will store or occupy some memory. Okay, so like for an example, three methods got created. One method got created due to this. Okay, other method created by this new keyword. As soon as we'll write new keyword, a new uh, object will get created. So we have one object over here, object over here, object over here. All the three values, just like the name, is, and get method assigned to this. Okay, and the same thing also assigned to this method name as in get. Okay, and the same three things also assigned to this. Now, by using the above this method, we are just calling the name. Okay, and other values just like age and get we are not using. By using this object, we are just calling the age only. Age is equal to, we are just assigning the value to age only. And by using the last object, we are just accessing its get method. So now, like this age and get are like unnecessary over here. They are present inside the memories, but we are not using them here. We are not using the name as well as get method here. These variables name and age are not being used, and we are only using the get. So unnecessary we are creating the multiple objects, so there is no use of that. So always try to create first the reference object. Okay, then by using that reference object reference, try to access these values. Okay, so this is the one concept related to object reference concept when we will get the null exception. So other concept we'll talk in like next session. I think this is enough for today. Or if you have time or have interest to understand little more, then I can go ahead. Other than that, like I think this would be easy to digest you. These concepts are enough for now. So do you have any questions on the things that we have discussed so far?
No, I don't have.
You got this concept like method overloading and object reference concept. The first concept that we discussed, if we are assigning none, then we'll get null reference exception.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, then we'll stop the session over here and see you on Monday.